ABC News Now. Good to know.
September 9th, 2009 marked the return of the world's greatest corporate storyteller. We're talking about the CEO of the Apple Corporation, and our first guest says you can learn a lot from the man who brought us the iPod. Carmine Gallo's new book is The Presentation Secrets of Steve Jobs: How to Be Insanely Great in Front of Any Audience. Welcome, Carmine.
Thank you, Tori. Nice to be here.
Thanks. So we know that, people don't pay attention to boring things, and that a Steve Jobs presentation is anything but boring. And you have 5 techniques that he uses in every presentation to keep the excitement level high. Things that you say anyone can use to their own advantage, too. So the first is introduce the antagonist.
Well, you have to keep in mind, Tori, that for 3 decades, Steve Jobs has elevated the product launch to an art form. And like you suggest, he's taken that typical dull, plodding PowerPoint type of slideshow and really transformed it into a theatrical experience. So to your first point, introduce the antagonist. Every great drama has a hero and a villain. And this technique goes back to 1984 when he first introduced the Macintosh. The same as a great drama, Steve Jobs does in a great presentation. He always introduces an enemy, a villain. In 1984, it was IBM. And he told a group of salespeople at Apple that IBM was bent on dominating the computer industry, but Apple would be the last to stand in its way, and the crowd went crazy. This is a consistent theme in all of his presentations. Doesn't necessarily have to be a competitor who's the enemy. Maybe it's just the state of the industry. So he explains the problem and sets up the solution. But every problem then opens the door for the hero, and that's Apple.
All right, got it. You also say that he creates what you call Twitter-friendly headlines.
It's extraordinary. Every product that Apple releases, and even features within those products, have a description. They write the headline for us, for the journalists. They write the headlines for us. So when Steve Jobs introduced the MacBook Air in 2008, instead of saying, well, it's a really light, thin notebook computer with a 13.3-inch widescreen display, etc., he gave us one sentence that framed the entire product. It's the world's thinnest notebook. Period. The world's thinnest notebook. If that's all you know about it, you know a lot. But that's very consistent. He does that with every single product, and it's consistent in their press releases, their website, his presentation, and when he communicates the vision behind the product, they will use the same descriptive headline.
Absolutely. It's so annoying. I think we've all been there. You sit through a presentation, you're frustrated because at the end you can't sum it up, and so those Twitter-friendly headlines help prevent that from happening.
140 characters or less. If you had to describe your product in a headline, what is it going to be?
You got it. Okay. You say also that even though he's trying to sell us the latest gadgets and the latest technology, he's actually selling dreams, not products. Give me an example of that and how someone else could do the same.
Steve Jobs doesn't sell computers. He doesn't sell hardware. He sells transformative experiences. So you really have to think about the product that you're selling. What is it about the product that will change somebody's life? For example, when he introduced the iPod in 2001, he told an interviewer, he said, music is a transformative experience. Music enriches people's lives. In our own small way, we're changing the world. Well, wait a minute. Isn't he talking about an MP3 player? No, he's talking about a life-changing experience. So what you have to do is dig deep and identify what is it about our product that is going to improve somebody's life. It's a very subtle distinction in communications, but he's not selling hardware. He's selling a better life. There's a difference.
2 other things he does. He practices Zen-like simplicity, and he also rehearses.
Yeah. And those two go together quite well. When I say Zen-like simplicity, he once said that simplicity is the elimination of clutter. Steve Jobs said simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. And it's very interesting because when you look at Apple products, of course, it is about the elimination of clutter. They're very simple products. The Apple website, very simple, very plain. But the same holds true for his presentations. How many presentations have you seen where it's all about the text and bullet points, text and bullet points? points. There are no bullet points in a Steve Jobs presentation. Words clutter slides. Steve Jobs is all about the visuals, the images. There are actually very few words in a Steve Jobs presentation. And the way he makes those presentations look effortless, he rehearses. He practices relentlessly. They actually practice for hundreds of hours over a period of weeks for one presentation. He gets up there on stage and goes over it and over it. Every slide is written like a piece of poetry. Every presentation delivered like a theatrical experience. And that's how he makes it look so effortless and polished. He works at it.
All right, well, we can work at it too by watching those presentations and reading your book. Carmine Gallo, thanks so much for being here. The book is The Presentation Secrets of Steve Jobs, How to Be Insanely Great in Front of Any Audience.